Hello, we're doing a series of videos on Eugenics Is Back. I'm using Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington, and you can tell I'm New York because a Metro card is my stop. This is going out. It's the last year for Metro cards. We're gonna have Omni cards. So instead of swiping, if you know anything about New York, we're going to a tap card. But let's get into the text now. Last video, you have to come to the Patreon to see that. Harriet Washington names of Black people who were doing Black eugenics. You have to go to that video to see who or get the book. Either way, it's fine by me, as long as you use the information. Let's go. Sanger left another important legacy. She supported the development of the birth control pill. Waves of social and political transformation roiled the 1960s and 1970s, but some of the most lasting revolutions were triggered by a single medical event, the development of the pill. It placed cheap, easy contraception within every woman's grasp for the first time, with an ideal laboratory rate of 98% effectiveness. The women's movement was galvanized by the sudden ability to reliably uncouple sex from procreation. So was the sexual revolution. You couldn't trap a woman with children anymore. This is what this meant, because you got to remember, in the 60s, abortion was still illegal in a lot of places. It wasn't until the 70s that it was actually legalized through, I think, Roe v. Wade. It was in like 1971, 72, something like that. The birth control pill was developed during an era in which abortion was still illegal, but laws prohibiting contraceptive use also remained in effect until the 1960s, and distribution of information about contraception was not legalized until 1971. Legal spermicidal creams and jellies were expensive, hard to obtain, and unreliable. So were the back alley abortions from which thousands of women died horribly. You could wind up seeing this again now that they're banning abortion in some states and taking away things like Medicaid. I'm telling you, we're going backward, and everybody's shrugging their shoulders and moving on. The pill was made available to poor Black women free and cheaply from government-sponsored Planned Parenthood clinics in central urban areas, facilities that were the direct progeny of Sanger's Negro Project clinics. Clinics had many other contraceptive technologies in their arsenals, including condoms and diaphragms, barrier methods that physically blocked access of semen to the uterine neck, backed up by spermicidal jellies and creams. Clinics also fitted more African American women than white women with intrauterine devices, or IUDs. Oh, intrauterine, duh, intrauterine devices, or IUDs. I'm sorry, excuse me. But a history of forcible sterilization fed suspicions that the federally financed birth control clinic in their neighborhoods were attempts to discover the best way to limit or even to erase the Black presence in America. Federal NAACP Director Marvin Davies argued that Blacks needed to produce as many babies as possible until Blacks constituted 30 to 35% of Americans. In 1962, National Urban League rescinded in support of contraception, and so did many local NAACP chapters. 28% of the Blacks surveyed in the late 1960s agreed that encouraging Blacks to use birth control is comparable to trying to eliminate this group from society. These genocidal fears were dismissed as paranoia, But prominent white physicians had long advocated a reduction in blacks' births as means of pinching off the race. In 1903, for example, politically influential physician Charles S. Bacon, MD, advocated that the black belt will be defined by the government as a Negro reservation similar to Indian reservations. The plan that has worked so well in its treatment of the Indian question until it has practically eliminated the question with the race. And maybe that's where I got this from. I keep saying black people are going to be reduced to the number of Native Americans, 2 million, especially black Americans. I think there's 40 million black people in the United States. I think only 28 million of them are from the black American part of the diaspora. I think the rest are African and Caribbean. And you might have some children that have mixed parents. So I don't know where they line up. I don't know where they line up on what they consider themselves. Because you got to remember, no one wants to be black American. Everybody runs away from it. Everybody runs away from it. And again, this genocide that they're talking about, we're dying. Our babies are dying. Our children are dying. All kinds of conditions and medical issues and hospitals are killing us. We're dying in our teens. We're dying in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Heart attacks, strokes, you name it. Of course, our elders are dying. No, that's natural. Women are dying in childbirth. We are disappearing. When you tell black people this, and I've told black people this, they think again, yeah, we are. Shrug their shoulders and keep on moving. I don't know what we're supposed to do with that, other than to me, what that says is, I don't really care if I go. When someone says we're disappearing, or they're like, I don't really want to talk to him. I don't believe what he's saying, so I'm just going to move on. So that could be it too. Because I know when people say things to me that I know is not true, even though I know I'm telling the truth, they believe it's not true. So they might be doing to me what I do to them. It's cool, but I know what reality is. Always in tune with it, which is one of the reasons why I don't have a lot of relationships in the black community. Because we run from reality like it's COVID. And we really don't even run from that, truth be told. The 1967 Black Power Conference in Newark, New Jersey passed a resolution that equated birth control with a black genocide. And that year, a crowd of blacks chanted genocide as they burned down a Cleveland, Ohio contraceptive clinic. We used to care. Those who cried genocide found support in a United Nations resolution. On December 9, 1948, in reaction to the Nazi-engineered European Holocaust, the United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide unanimously passed a genocide provision prescribing any attempt to destroy a racial or religious group by killing or harming its members. Resolution 263A of the United Nations General Assembly of 1948 states in part, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. A. Killing members of the group. B. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. Emphasis added. C. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about the physical destruction in whole or in part. We're going through all of those things. We've gone through them my whole 54 years on this planet, and we were going through them before I was born. And if there's any of us left when I die, we'll be still going through it unless something changes. The document also prohibited D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within a group, emphasis added. And E, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Many blacks argue that the birth control movement, they're not really transferring blacks to other groups, really. They're just throwing us into the street, into the garbage bins, right? Putting us through foster care, and then when you age out, just throw you out on the street like garbage. The community's throwing you out. Cities are throwing us out. The government's throwing us out. The ruling class is throwing us out. Now, I don't know, they don't realize you throw us out, we're not like regular garbage where we just disappear or blow in the wind. We're here and we're human beings and we react. Every action has an equal or greater reaction. And we're going to tear down this place one way or the other, either just by taking what we need, making life difficult for you all, right? Stealing catalytic converters, your packages off your tubes, pushing people onto subway tracks, laying down across seats during rush hour so you can't sit. We're going to do these types of things, and we're going to make life so difficult for you until you stop throwing us away and treat us like human beings. Many blacks argue that the birth control movement per se constitutes genocide under Article D because its negative eugenics stance has consistently targeted blacks. By 1972, the American Journal of Public Health verified that the load of genocidal fears has widened. 40% of surveyed blacks now believe birth control clinics were a ploy to eradicate blacks, and these respondents expressed a deep distrust of sterilization programs, abortion clinics, and any birth control programs run by whites. You shouldn't trust the ones run by blacks either, as you watched the last video. However, a strong gender divide prevailed. Men were much more likely to denounce birth control as genocide than women, especially young, less well-educated, poor, and northern men. In contrast, most black women embraced birth control, and more women than men countenanced abortion. In 1970, social activist Donald Bogue found that 80% of the black women he surveyed in Chicago approved of birth control, and 75% were using it. Unlike Fannie Lou Hamer, many black women of the post-pill generation had career options, thanks to the racial integration of schools and workplaces. Women were eager to leave unskilled labor behind and to enter the professional sphere, so they wished to delay the responsibilities of motherhood until they were ready. That's weird, because growing up for me, and I was a teenager in the 80s, I think black boys and men, we wanted women to have birth control. We didn't want them to have, well, I can't say we didn't really want them. I had some friends that wanted children, but for the most part, we was like, we didn't know. And a lot of some of my friends that had the children, it was kind of like they didn't think we was gonna live long. So I know I had one really close homeboy, 5%er, who was saying he's trying to leave seeds behind because he didn't think he would make it. We didn't think we would make it past 25. That's why a lot of us dropped out of school and, did what we wanted and didn't really go along with the program. I only graduated because I went after most of the people were in jail or dead, and the neighborhood was calm again, or the city was calm again. I went back to school, late 80s, went to college in the early 90s, but I was late. Because I always went in and out of school. I always liked to learn, but it was always like, what's the point if I'm gonna be dead by 25? I mean, I'm wasting time in the classroom. I'm surprised I'm 54 because I I've been in so many situations where they could have killed me time and time again, um, but I dodged it. Whether it was gangs in the neighborhood, which we outgrew that, uh, hospitals. Um, I was in a homeless shelter, and homeless shelters are basically prisons, especially the bigger ones where they have the dorm settings. It's a prison setting, and I know because I've spoken to. When I was telling someone who was formerly incarcerated about it, they were telling me that sounds like what they went through, and he said it sounds like what they went through. Only difference was I could leave every day or leave and not come back, which eventually I had to do. Um, so I don't know why I went on that rant, but um, oh, to talk about abortion and birth control and things like that. My generation of men mostly didn't mind if women took birth control, right? At least that's what we would say, because we couldn't really take care of children, and even the people who had the children really, I hate to say, a lot of them had bad relationships with the baby's moms, relationships, bad relationships with the children, strained relationships, dysfunction. So, um, what she says, of course, and this book is true. Um, Remember, this video went way too long, but this book is so good. Get this book, use this information. I'm going to be putting together another class, another book I just got from the library. Um, until next time, please take care. Try to be safe. And remember, we're battling systems, institutions, and now we're battling nature because climate change is kicking our ass, and we kind of deserve it. Until next time, take care, be safe, and use the information. Use the information. Use the information.